Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be doing an off-road comparison between a Chevy Silverado ZR2, a Ram TRX, and a Ford Raptor. Now before we get into this comparison, I do want to mention a huge shout out and thank you to Jack, who owns the ZR2, for giving me some time with his truck and obviously making this off-road comparison happen. I'm going to include his contact info in the description down below because he does work for the Stephen Wade Automotive Group, so if you're looking for a car and you live in Southern Utah, he's going to be the guy to go to. And with that being said, this video is most likely going to be a two-part series. I haven't decided exactly what order I'll put it in, but one part will be high-speed off-roading, testing how the trucks handle in high-speed circumstances, and then the first or second part, depending on how I order it, will be kind of like some low-speed crawling and everything, and you know, basically to see which truck crawls the best. And let's get into that. So starting off with the Raptor first for the high-speed stuff, and this trail, let me tell you, is very technical. Now this first part isn't exactly very high speed, right? It's kind of lower speed stuff, but once we kind of get down here a little bit, it opens up some. Now I've got the Raptor in four-wheel high. Jenks has it in sport mode for some reason, but don't worry, we have the suspension set to Baja and we have the exhaust set to Baja as well. Now the reason I did four-wheel high is because four-wheel auto fights me a little bit too much from a steering perspective, and then two-wheel drive is just tons of drifting, which drifting is fun, but if we're trying to do some high-speed off-roading, we're gonna want to, you know, be all grip. Think when you're on a racetrack with a car that has all-wheel drive, you want a 50-50 split, and that's kind of what the four-wheel drive system in the Raptor does. Now you guys will notice with the transmission, just how responsive it is. And just look at the speed that we can carry through some of this stuff. And just notice with the downshifts, just how quick those are. Now you guys are gonna notice that I'm not going to be the quickest through some of these corners. I could be a lot quicker than I am, but I don't have this trail perfectly memorized. So we're just kind of going with it. Notice the suspension dampening as well, and see coming through here, look at that, just perfect from a dampening perspective. Gotta fight a little bit, but the front end of the Raptor definitely grips. Yeah, that's impressive. The new Raptor with 37s just plows through everything that you throw at it pretty much. And again, having the transmission be as responsive as it is in the Raptor really helps out. It smooths everything out. So the only thing that you really feel is bumps, basically, with the Raptor. So it's impressive. But we're gonna turn around and head back the same way with this trail and see how things go. Do a little brake boost launch. Big bumps coming here. Woo! Definitely maxing out the suspension here with the Raptor. Now I'm not going to say anything too bad about the other trucks because again, we haven't driven it through the same course yet, but I do feel like I'm going to have to take it slightly slower with the other two trucks having V8s at the front end, so they're a little bit heavier. Ooh, that was a collision if I have ever seen one before. But that's what happens when you off-road. You spin stuff up and, well, that's why we have mud flaps here. Thank you. Okay. Couple bumps coming through here. Now I guess the thing that I really want to kind of hit home with the Raptor, especially look at here with the compression, just soaks it up so well from a shock standpoint. And again, we don't have the tire, I mean, now that we're up and moving, the tires are up to 35 PSI, which is not perfect for off-roading. We want to be about 10 PSI lower than we're at now. But this really highlights the shocks of the Raptor because again, it's very smooth experience. it's just really soaking everything up so well. Coming down here. Ooh, a little bit rough on the braking there. That was definitely driver error. Wow. But yeah, overall, you know, as we're coming up to the kind of final section here with the Raptor, confidence. That's what I feel in this truck. Is again, this is my first time driving down that trail really, and I just feel super confident in the truck. In its abilities. I feel like it can handle pretty much everything from a high-speed perspective. Super responsive transmission, great shocks, and so yeah, the Raptor is just a monster. But now let's pop up this, and let's do the same thing in the TRX. We're starting off in the TRX manual mode, just like the Raptor. I've got it in Baja mode, all the computers turned off. Now I'm not gonna do 4-wheel high. I've never put my TRX in 4-wheel high. I have literally done every single bit of off-roading in this truck in 4-wheel auto. It gets enough grip. First thing I'm noticing is this definitely feels bumpier than the Raptor. Now this has 35s, not 37s, and I think that's a big part of it, is the fact that the Raptor's got quite a bit more sidewall, so that kind of cushions things a little bit more than what you get with the TRX, especially through these bumps here. When you go over the big stuff and you get full suspension compression, I feel like it soaks it up just as good as the Raptor. It's just the little bumps that the TRX is kind of struggling with, and again, that feels like it's more tire than shocks really. So I guess if Ram ever did a 37 package with the TRX, then it would feel quite a bit different. Now I've got to like be really, really gingerly on the throttle here at the TRX. So like the Raptor, I could just full throttle all the time. Whereas this, I've got to kind of go full throttle and then step off and get ready to brake, because the truck weighs quite a bit more, 700 pounds more than the Raptor. And it actually doesn't have brakes that are any bigger than a regular Ram 1500, believe it or not. It's kind of funny. But yeah, you just get up to speed so fast, and then next thing you know, you're already in the braking zone, and so you've got to kind of slow down. Big compression there. Yeah, see, I'm running out of brakes with the TRX quite a bit, but it's also because I'm just getting to places on the trail so much quicker. Shift not allowed. I'm trying to get into second gear here. Okay, a lot more weight to heft around. Still get the back end to step out in 4-wheel auto with the TRX, which is kind of fun. But yeah, there's our initial part with the TRX, and we'll head back now. Okay, so the TRX actually has launch control. So we're gonna have to do like we're gonna have to let off the throttle like instantaneously, just so you guys know. Okay, big bump. Whew. So because the TRX is in 4-wheel auto, we're definitely struggling for traction a little bit more. So maybe 4-wheel high would have been the smart choice to go with. But we still have amazing sounds coming from the TRX. And the 8-speed automatic, oh, I can really feel the weight coming through that corner. The 8-speed automatic is, I feel like, just as responsive as the Raptor transmission. Little bit more abrasive though. It's not as smooth, especially with the downshifts. You kind of feel a little bit more. Love the sounds it makes though. So fun. Another big bump. Woo! Yeah, these Bilstein shocks are amazing. So if you guys are ever off-roading and you're wondering what to upgrade on your vehicle, if you have big compression and it feels like crap, you probably need better shocks. If you're just on stuff like this that's just a little bit bumpy and it feels like crap, you probably need better tires. So responsive with the transmission. I definitely do have to wrestle with the TRX a little bit more. I feel like I can go pretty much just as quick as the Raptor. It's pretty close. Definitely catching up on the Raptor with the little straightaways that we have from a speed perspective. But coming through these corners, that's where we're going to trail a little bit in the TRX. But you know, still super capable. But yeah, the TRX is definitely more of a handful. So what I would say is you have to be a much better driver to be able to handle the TRX than the Raptor. The Raptor, I feel like you can access more of it earlier on, whereas the TRX, there's a lot to access with this truck, but you've got to really learn how to use it. And so that's why TFL always compares this as like the they call the TRX the hammer, right? The blunt object, and then the Raptor is the scalpel, right? So yeah, let's go from that to the ZR2 and then we'll get a conclusion. Okay, so we're starting off here with the ZR2. So we've got it in the off-road mode. So it's in 4-wheel high, and I've got it in the manual shift function as well. The paddles on the ZR2 aren't as responsive as we have with the Raptor and with the TRX. So I'm actually going to put it back into automatic mode. I'm just gonna let the truck do everything for me, which is probably gonna be able to do a better job anyways, because, you know, first time driving this off-road. Now the first thing I want to mention here with the ZR2 is I actually really like the steering feel on the truck. So even in 4-wheel high, it's not really fighting me from a steering perspective. And the other thing that I'm noticing is it's got really good turning. So Chevy's done a really good job with that. Definitely struggling to get grip. That's the one downside with this truck, is going to be the smaller tires, right? So not only from a sidewall perspective, but then also from a width perspective, because the tires on the Raptor and the TRX are, the Raptor 315 millimeters wide, TRX 325 millimeters, whereas these are going to be closer to like 260 or 275, 285. So a little bit narrower. And so even in 4-wheel drive, this is going to kind of, you know, struggle a little bit more to get traction compared to the other two trucks. Dampening's really good with these Multimatic shocks, yeah, especially that bump right there. And the 6.2's got tons of torque. Yeah, and this is actually thing I'm really impressed with is it's not keeping it at super high RPMs, but it's actually keeping it at high enough RPMs that I'm able to just kind of muscle out of everything with the ZR2. It's a lot quieter than the other two. It's like I'm in this like refined luxury experience here with the ZR2, whereas with the Raptor and the TRX, it's just so much engine noise there. So definitely an interesting thing with the driving experience between both of them. Gonna kind of get in the throttle a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, this gets up and moves. So yeah, the TRX is the craziest, but I mean, when you compare this to the Raptor, I feel like it moves at a pretty similar pace from an acceleration perspective. It might be a little bit slower, but it's not a lot. Here. Gotta love that 6.2 V8. So we'll see how it dampens over this bump right here. Okay, so that's another thing I'm noticing with the ZR2 compared to the other two. So going over that bump, where we had, you know, larger compression there with the shocks and the suspension, you feel that this has leaf springs still. Whereas the other two with the coil suspension, because the back end of the truck kind of popped up a little bit. Whereas with the Raptor and the TRX with the coil suspension, not really feeling the same pop up. And you know what's interesting is from a handling perspective, This actually feels in between the two trucks. The Raptor definitely feels the sharpest, but this feels, it definitely feels lighter than the TRX when I'm coming in a turn, and then braking feels just a little bit stronger as well. And so it's just kind of like right in between both of those trucks. See how the compression is there? Now that was really good coming up. I'm really impressed with these Multimatic shocks. I do feel like I'm running out of tire though every so often. Not from a suspension comfort standpoint, more from just a raw grip standpoint with the ZR2. But you know, an easy fix to that is give up a little bit of suspension travel and throw 35s on this. And I'm sure that, you know, there's nothing out right now, but I'm sure that someone will have an aftermarket lift kit for the truck so that you don't have to concede any suspension travel. You know, maybe like a 2-inch lift, right? And then throw 35s, and then you'll probably be in a little bit of a better place. Steering wheel's also, like the grip on the steering wheel is like the steering wheel itself is thinner than the other trucks. And so it actually kind of makes it easier to do the turnover or hand over hand turning, whatever. I can't talk today. We're just gonna go with that. But yeah, I'm impressed with the ZR2. I'm really impressed. So again, this isn't my truck, so I'm not gonna, you know, go as all out as I did in my trucks rather, with the ZR2. But here's what I have to say. That was way more impressive than I expected from Chevy. You know, let's sum things up. So let's sum things up with my final thoughts after doing some high-speed off-roading with all three trucks. So the Raptor, right, is the one that's the easiest to drive. It's this lightweight, fine-tuned tool. That's why TFL always calls it the scalpel. And then the TRX, on the other hand, tons of power, tons of fun, but obviously you run out of brakes every so often, and you get up to speed way too fast with that in off-road conditions. So it's, again, like TFL says, the hammer. The ZR2, on the other hand, it doesn't directly compete with the TRX or the Raptor. It's less expensive, fully loaded, than what those trucks are from a base model perspective. And you know, when you line things up, you have like the entry-level off-road truck segment, which is like Chevy Trail Boss, for example, Ram Rebel. You have the middle of the line where the ZR2 sits, and then it also competes against like the new Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. And then you have the top of the line Baja trucks, the Raptor and the TRX. That being said though, the ZR2 is seriously impressive. The shocks are amazing on it. There's only two things in my mind that are really holding back the ZR2, and it is not the engine, believe it or not. That engine is more than powerful enough. What I would change on it is make it have coil suspension just like the Raptor and just like the TRX, so that it can, you know, just do a little bit of a better job of dampening and staying planted on the ground. And then just give it slightly bigger tires, because I felt like I was just running out of grip every so often on the course. But other than that, it's an amazing off-road truck. And I mean, it'd be super easy to just add bigger tires, like I said, in the driving impressions to the ZR2, lift it a little bit once there is aftermarket support for that, and then the truck will just be fantastic. And so if you want a more attainable, crazy off-road truck that is way more capable than what you'll ever need, the ZR2 will still give that to you. The Raptor and the TRX, I don't know if a regular person could ever get to the limits of that truck. Whereas the ZR2, I feel like you could fully master it, and you could potentially get to the limits of that truck from like a high-speed off-road perspective. And so there you go. Hopefully that helps out. Now that's going to sum things up for a video. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to Jack for lending me his ZR2 for this video. And like I said, I'm going to include a link to his contact info in the description down below. Link. I don't know why I said link. I'm just going to include his contact info in the description down below. Reach out to him if you're looking for a car. I'll see you guys.